Nerd. Learning is important, right?
Yes, exactly. What a bunch of nerds.
Nerd alert.
That's right.
Marketing Architects.
Hello, and welcome to the Marketing Architects, a research-first podcast dedicated to answering your toughest marketing questions. I'm Lena Jasper on the marketing team here at Marketing Architects, and I'm joined by my co-host, Rob Demars, the Chief Product Architect of Misfits and Machines.
Howdy, howdy.
Hello, we're back with your weekly Nerd Alert. Every week, I'll take a deep dive into academic marketing research and translate its complex ideas into simple, understandable language for Rob and, of course, for all of you. Are you ready to nerd out, Rob?
This is the exact moment in the podcast where the cool kids leave and it's just us spreadsheet lovers in the corner eating paste. Let's do it.
All right, let's get into it. As always, we'll link the research we cover in the episode notes. This week, I read a paper titled The Impact of Ad Overload Perception in Social Media on Ad Avoidance Behavior, the mediating effect of social media fatigue and goal impediment. It's from a team of marketing researchers at the Northern Border University in Saudi Arabia. And this paper tries to answer a simple question. What actually happens when people feel like there are too many ads on social media? And most importantly, why does that lead them to kind of tune out? Ad overload doesn't just annoy people. It actually triggers deeper reactions that work together to kill engagement. So they get in the way of what people are trying to do. They make them fatigued. So if you combine these, ad avoidance becomes a real issue. So Rob, before we get too far, when you're scrolling through social, how aware are you of the ads?
I'm extremely aware. I mean, I think social media has become a wasteland of basically anything goes ads, where, you know, outrageous product claims are just thrown in your face. I mean, don't you think AGs must wake up every morning and just start doom scrolling so they can see who they're going to sue today? I mean, it's just, there's just so much crazy stuff coming at you. So yeah, I definitely think it's hard to ignore it, quite honestly.
I feel the same way. I think that I'm very aware of it when I'm on social media and you're seeing different ads. So this study, they ground their work in two theories that relate to kind of how the two of us are feeling when we're on social media. The first is called reactance theory. This says people don't like feeling controlled. When ads interrupt what we're doing, whether it's reading a post, watching videos, or connecting with friends, we experience psychological reactance. So basically we say, you're blocking my goal, so now I'm resisting you. And I bet, Rob, if you think about when you're on social, you're probably feeling that a little bit. Like when ads like really get in your way, it starts to feel sort of annoying. And the second theory is cognitive load theory. Our brains can only process so much information at once. When feeds are packed with content and ads, we hit overload. That overload turns into fatigue, and fatigue turns into avoidance. So how did they test these different theories? They surveyed 450 social media users across YouTube, Facebook, and TikTok. Participants were mostly between 18 and 35 years old, as those tended to be the heaviest social media users. And they measured 5 key variables. The first was perceived ad clutter, then perceived ad intrusiveness, perceived goal impediment, social media fatigue, and finally ad avoidance behavior. Then they used structural equation modeling to see how all those pieces fit together. If you're like me, you do not know what that means. So I looked it up. It's a way to test a whole system of relationships at once, so they can look at how multiple factors influence each other directly and indirectly. So basically, to summarize, instead of looking at a cause and effect, they're looking at more of a full chain of what drives outcomes. And what they found was, as ad clutter increased, people felt more blocked from accomplishing what they came to do. The same clutter also makes the platform itself feel more exhausting to use. And then fatigue turned out to be the strongest driver of ad avoidance in the entire model. One nuance here is that goal impediment by itself didn't directly cause ad avoidance. Instead, it worked through fatigue. So ads get in the way, we feel worn out, and then we begin actively avoiding the ads. So Rob, does that sound like how you feel when you use social media? Like, is it the specific ad that bothers you, or do you find the whole experience becomes a bit draining?
I do think the whole experience is a bit draining, but I think in particular the advertorials, which I've been guilty of as a marketer in the past, you know, using advertorials as a strategy. But in that experience, I just find it exhausting to have to differentiate between an actual article and something that was designed to try to sell me on something.
Okay, so explain what you mean by advertorial.
Ads that feel like content. So
yeah,
you
so
think
when people
that
are
it's so it looks like an ad. It's got a headline. It looks like content, and then you realize it's actually an ad. And sometimes, you know, oftentimes it has to be disclosed or it says sponsored or something like that. But sometimes they're sneakier than that.
Yeah, you know what, Rob, I feel that same way on social media when it's like we start watching a video and you almost have to check, make sure, like, is this an ad or is this real content? Because a lot of brands now use that user generated content, which I'm sure performs really well, but it does start to become a little bit draining. I was thinking this study really tracks with how I start to feel avoidant of ads or exhausted by ads. One of my pet peeves is overfrequency in streaming of ads when I start to see the same ad over and over again.
Oh, yeah.
And I was thinking it's not so much just the ad, it is what they found. It's feeling fatigued after you see it over and over. Like that'd be interesting to look into.
Well,
like,
I mean, it's just like watching your favorite TV show. You love the TV show, but you don't want to watch the same episode over and over. That would be painful.
Mm-hmm. Yes, and that's how it feels when you're seeing those ads. All right, let's talk about some takeaways for marketers. So first, ad avoidance isn't really about people just hating ads in general. It's about interruption, because social media is goal-driven. We often open apps with intent, and when ads interrupt the flow, they create resistance. So people don't avoid ads because they hate advertising. They avoid ads because they feel blocked from what they came to do. And second, fatigue is the real enemy. Ad clutter doesn't just hurt individual ads, it wears people out on the platform itself. So when feeds start to feel overwhelming, people scroll faster, they tune out branding, and sometimes they just disengage entirely. And once that fatigue sets in, creative tweaks don't matter so much anymore. You've lost someone's attention at the environmental level. And finally, intrusiveness accelerates all of this. So autoplay, pop-ups, and unavoidable formats make ads feel like friction instead of value. And once a user associates a platform with that feeling, it's really hard to undo. All right, imagine social media like an airport terminal, sort of Rob GPT. People open the app because they're trying to get somewhere. They have a destination in mind, even if it's just kill time before boarding. Now imagine every few steps in the airport, someone wheels a cart in front of you, not offering help, just blocking the walkway. One cart might be annoying. 10 carts make you tired. After a while, you stop noticing what's on the carts at all. You just start looking for the fastest way around them, or you leave the terminal entirely. That's what ad overload does. It doesn't make people hate advertising. It makes the whole environment we're in feel exhausting. And once people associate a platform with friction instead of flow, they don't just skip ads, they mentally check out. So the real lesson isn't, make better carts. It's understanding where people are actually open to slowing down and paying attention. Rob, what did you think?
That makes a lot of sense. And I have to imagine the social platforms themselves are all over this in terms of trying to test how much is too much, because obviously engagement's important to them and they don't want people fleeing their platform. So I'm sure for them it is an exact science that they're trying to figure out.
Yep. Always adjusting it. That's, big fan of TV. But one reason I think TV advertising works well is because, and we've seen this with streaming, people thought streaming, people want ads, we won't take that trade-off, but people, they're okay with ads if there's a reason for it. Like, for example, watching a game and there's a natural break. Like, that makes sense to have some advertisements. Or I'm watching ads in exchange for content, kind of when they're coming up. And where when you're on social media, I think it can become a little more frustrating at times. I'd say the exception is if you're watching some sort of streaming platform and the ads are like, there's so much ads in content, then it becomes kind of exhausting. But I think that's why national broadcast TV has done so well, because we sort of accept, I'm going to watch a football game and there's going to be
and
ads.
We know what we're going to get going in. Yep, for sure.
That's it for this episode of The Marketing Architects. We'd like to thank Taylor De Los Reyes for producing the show. You can connect with us on LinkedIn, and if you like the podcast, please leave us a review. Now go forth and build great marketing. I realized today that when I was opening stuff for this podcast that I've worn the same green sweatshirt in the last must be 10 podcast recordings. And I wear it once a week. I don't think I wear it. It just happens to be every week I wear it on this day. So it looks like I'm just always wearing the same thing.
No, I think about that. I'm like, should I wear a different hat today?
I don't think anybody would actually notice, but
no.
I notice.
Marketing Architects.